I knew what's come over me.
Dude. It's that dude.
We've always done it this way.
We always
John looked at me and he says, "Are you not getting up there?" And I said, "It was the carrot cake."
Right. Kind of a carrot cake stupor, and then you...
Well, I got on it right away. Boy, that's a lot of sugar.
It was.
That icing was delicious.
It was great.
And what was it for? It was for the 50th show.
50th show of the Eugene Smith and Billy show. That's right.
Well, that's only the fourth one of that.
Oh.
We changed the name partway through.
We did.
But you two have been doing the show.
Together
for 50 shows.
Except for the ones where you jumped in, because I was up north. You did 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, well, you were working.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
I wasn't getting married. No one would have me up there either. Oh, there's some ruckus going on.
Who's talking while we're talking?
Who's talking during the show? Is that Todd? Ted, Timmy?
Oh, I know. John wants to find something out about who that girl was.
Oh, man. That's
was
John
singing.
Hadfield?
No.
Oh. No, I wouldn't think so.
He would never speak unless spoken to.
Yeah.
Shut up. For the love of words. How can we stop people from... What's their... I'm not going there.
There was the original host of the Duncan Garage. He would get up there with the big finger. And that would just cut through
We
glass.
had that big finger.
You remember that guy with the
Yeah.
big finger? Yeah. And then after a while, you didn't need to have the big finger anymore.
No.
I think enough people had got the...
Sometimes it works.
Yeah. You probably still pull it out once in a while.
I don't have it anymore.
Oh.
We have little signs now.
Oh, yeah, right.
Friends don't let friends talk during shows.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Oh, I like that one, yeah.
I had to walk up to someone the other day and tell them that it's not about you, it's about the people on stage.
I know.
Would you please go sit down
Yes.
and shut up?
Yeah.
They left. I felt bad.
No.
No, I didn't.
They were caught up in their own thing. If they're not open and ready, then perhaps come back another day.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
There's no, like, I'm not condemning them. I'm just saying if they're not ready to be here at the moment,
Yes.
then take your moment elsewhere.
That's a nice way to put it.
I got to use that one.
You're good.
Good thing we taped this so I can remember what
Can
it was.
you take your moment elsewhere?
Yeah. Hey, is this our 14th year or 14th? What?
Face plant. How do you do that to make it sound right? Oh. Yes, we're in our 14th and a half year.
Okay, so we've done 14 years, or we're in the 14th year.
We're in the 15th year. That's right.
Okay. Just check it. You know, it is about the love of words.
That's right. It is.
Yeah. Correct
That's
words
right.
usually.
That shtick never gets old because we get older. So. Not so good. Well, this was exciting because 2 shows today, but last week we had 3 shows.
We did a Willie P. Bennett one.
The Eugene and Billy, and then Willie P. Bennett, and then dress rehearsal. That was.
Do you know what that little Malachi did to us yesterday?
What did he do?
He had a show out in the city square at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Right. And so about third or fourth song in, he goes, "Well, Long John turned me on to this guy Willie P. Bennett, and I really, I started checking out who he was. You know what? He's really a good songwriter.
Nice.
I'm going to do 2 of his songs today, and one of them was "Lacing Pretty Flowers."
Nice.
We wanted
Did he? Yeah.
both of us. Yeah, we were just like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know.
He had a good take on them. Yeah, I enjoyed.
Well,
that.
it's nice knowing that. First of all, it's not just people who knew Willie doing Willie songs. It's people who never knew who Willie is discovering Willie, and if we can help people, specifically youth, find out who he is, and that's how you continue, and that's how he becomes a.
Willie lives.
He'll live on.
Yeah.
Speaking of living on.
Speaking of living on.
I'm leaving.
Bill, are you still living on? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
For all your good works.
Well, no,
Longevity John, ladies and gentlemen. Whose also idea this was. He also had the idea of the Eugene Smith, originally called Tales and Tunage.
Rainfest. You're part of Rainfest.
And we're part of Rainfest.
Under the umbrella.
We're under the umbrella.
Of the Duncan Showroom. Under the umbrella of Rainfest.
Of the Tootledge. Okay. So a little spoken song. Yes, I got to do a little Willie spoken song, so I'll carry on with that. This one is Drive Darling by Boy. You guys know Boy? Pair of German ladies, women. Nobody in the audience has heard of Boy? Oh, okay. Well, you must look up the song. It's a beautiful song. You close the door and start the motor. I roll the window down. I raise my hand and wave goodbye to neighborhood queens and clowns. And children in the front yards, they hide and seek and laugh. I can almost hear you thinking, how could these days go by so fast? And rear view good picture what we leave behind. Drive, darling, drive, darling, drive, darling, drive. A silent conversation, no words, 'cause there's no need. We let the tapes mix up the years and press repeat and press repeat. The trunk is filled with records and books and chairs and clothes. I'm smiling on the surface. I'm scared as hell below. Good morning, freedom. Good night, olive eyes. Drive, darling, drive, darling, drive, darling, drive. And when we arrive, the hardest of goodbyes, you will drive on ice somehow. You're always by my side, the one who holds my kite and watches over all my flights. Drive, darling, drive, darling, drive. Look up that one, yeah. Boy. Here's what I wrote. A few years ago. So it took me a while to warm up today. I don't know about you guys. Into my dream, a chirpy, a Sherpa, a soothsayer, a heart slayer, a palm reader, a man melter. You love your sensual delights, she said. A teaser so pleasing, a quizzical rabbit of quicks, kyucks, so, how do you say that word? Quixote. She traveled thousands of miles to be free. I am free, she said. You are free, I observed. The streets of Florence burned beneath her feet. No blue jean booted baby girl. No boots were made for this hot walkin'. Her ankles swollen near large sweaty man on the bus. Let me out of this oven. All temples burned bright. All high Catholic art burned bright. She went down in Stendhal's swoon. The breath grew short in her vinyl room. The streets are on fire, she cried. This city overwhelms at times. You're not in Calgary now, Dorothy, I said, or on your open plain, or bathed in your island garden home. How much can one-legged cowgirl take? How much can she ingest all this cathedral gobbling? Siena's Eros charged to the hilt. She'd like to hit the floor and moan. Ceilings climbing to the stars. Holiest of holies looks down from high. The hand of God at work inside. She tries to sleep amidst the thump, well-dressed. Freudian slip, sorry. That wasn't the girlfriend that fell asleep mid-coitus. She tries to sleep amidst the thump where well-dressed youth go bumpity-bump and American schoolgirls all in tone. Oh my God, you're the coolest, Mom. We know this dance floor maven, this wild woman of the Renaissance heart, this beaming, radiant sunshine child, the giddy laugh, the knowing smile. She loves Irish beer-crazed monologues. The Czechs are here, but they do not fizz, and the Swiss more quiet and thoughtful is. New Zealanders get far too loud, Italian tour guides flashing watches. She towers still above the throng. She cannot play my emailed songs. She cannot play my emailed songs. Smooth. You smooth-tongued devil, Bill. I think I need a vacation. You guys need a vacation? Okay, I just wrote this for Mark because I know he turned 55 and was going through some things. So I thought, Mark, this is for you. Move over, child. You've got to fit the man. Get on down the road, catch as you can. I don't think that ride's so steep and mean now. Move over, child. The day is on. Is your spirit low or your heart on fire for a woman's love, the heat of desire? Well, leave your moan and groan for the lovesick dog. Let your sorrow go because the day is on. It turns you weak when she smiles for another. It cuts you deep and drags you down. You got to get on track. The story is over. You got to shed the past because the day is on. Look at your weak, ill-fated moments and heal the wounds that keep you down. There's a light ahead for those uprising. You got to reach up higher. The day is on. Well, I didn't really write it for Mark, but I dedicate it for you. I think, no. I was dysfunctionally 33 when I wrote that song. Let's see, we have, Kayla, are you going to read something tonight? Oh, that's okay. That's quite, you're welcome as a guest. That's good. That's okay. And Dawn, well, I think we've got Dawn from Saskatchewan, who's not really from Saskatchewan. Come on up, is from southwestern Ontario, somewhere, maybe near where William was born, in Stratford, or where I was raised in Brantford. Be interesting to note. And why they moved to North Saskatchewan to take care of the Aspens, was it? Aspens or the other Dawn, your hubby? Hubby or partner, do you say? Partner. Weren't you talking about the Aspens, or was it the...
Yeah, take care of the trees.
Take care of the trees, nice. So you're in a beautiful place, but it's bloody cold in the winter.
Yes, we just got a text this morning that it was minus 41.
Oh, my Lord. Whew, that's cold. And you have come to preview a piece that you are going to do in full length on...
Yes, I wrote this piece. It's a short story, all told in rhyme.
Nice.
And what I want to do next week is I rented the showroom because I want to do it like a performance. So we're just going to do like 5 minutes of it now. It's about a 40-minute run when I do it. And there will be, you're welcome to come, but there will be maybe stops and starts because my memory may not be so good and I may have to fix things, right?
Well, enjoy it. I'm glad you've come to preview.
Okay, so just to set it up, it's set in 1814, right after the War of 1812. And this little 5-6 minute clip that I will give you is a stranger who just enters an inn. He's the main character when we meet him here. The story is called The Inn at Haunted Hollow by Don Shimolis. Oh, sorry fire, so full of ash, a flame can scarce find space, enough to take the chill from hands, but ne'er to glow a face. Comfort comes with bread and broth and the brightening of the room from the lass who clears the tables and empties the spittoon. She scuttles ash with gentle strokes into a copper pail. It puffs a little cloud of white which dusts across my ale. Oh, I am so sorry, sir. I'll run and fetch another. Nonsense, tend your cinders, lass, for I'm not worth the trouble. Then you shall have a second on the house when you are through. Only please don't tell my father, for he's in his anxious mood. I whispered to her softly to not be overheard. It shall be our secret then. I shall not say a word. My father is a good man, sir. You can see his eyes are kind. Only since my brother's death, strange thoughts torment his mind. I was born to Christian teachings, and the Bible was our way. It has been 2 years now he has put that book away. He says that hell hath opened, and its creatures walk the land, and my brother is among them, for he died with bloody hands. My mother is not herself, but I will tend your needs, and I'm hopeful that your presence here distracts them from their grief. She reached down a tinderbox which hung upon the bricks, and soon there came a crackling from a simple cone of sticks. The sweetness of the burning fir quickly came my way, and I eased into a welcome chair to reflect upon my day. The fire chair was walnut with a polished oval seat, ornately turned front legs, claw and ball for feet. It took my weight with ease, and I felt such comfort there. Not 5 minutes passed before I shed my winter wear. The pub that I had chosen seemed to draw me from the lane, with its ghostly silver willows and gargoyle weather vane. The vines had overgrown the wall and kept the door in shadow. The creaking iron sign announced, "The Inn at Haunted Hollow." Thinking long and all the day, and thinking ever still of such a sight I saw, or thought I saw, until a touch upon my arm brings back the broth and bowl. The spoon upon my lips reveals, I thought my supper cold. Upon the iron hearth again I placed the pewter bowl, rake the embers, fan a flame, add a lump of coal. By all the gods, what did I see? I thought, perhaps I spoke. Again the landlord's reveille, my supper now in smoke. Good sir, you must have traveled far. The world has done you ill. Come, drink your ale and tell to me what keeps you traveling still. Tell me, sir, how you are called, the place that you call home, and tell me where you travel to, and why so far alone. Did you come along the sumac road all tangled up in briar? And did you see old Maggie's ghost still struggling in the mire? She died there. It's been 13 moons this very time of year. I always said that Maggie Clare would one day reappear. She was a bonny lass with flowing golden hair. Tell me, have her eyes acquired a black and glassy stare? Landlord, take a breath, sir. There was no Maggie Clare. I did not cross the tangled mire. Belay your heavy fear. I came along the high road through the hilly pass, where for more than 20 nights the snow has gripped the grass. "Aye," exclaimed the landlord, "you've come along a ridge, and halfway down that barren slope, you crossed a crooked bridge, and on that bridge, or underneath, A troll upset your cart, for I see it in your eyes, for sure you've had a frightful start. Of all the legends I have heard, they be amongst the worst. How slimy trolls with ghoulish grins play foul with good men's mirth. And as he spoke in excited tones, I sipped my sup a while. I kept the cup up close and high, for I could not stop the smile. Landlord, calm your senses. I passed no trouble there. No ghouls, no goblins, no wicked trolls, no ghost of Maggie Clare. In fact, it was a peaceful ride on such a night as this, when the moonlight and the frost reveal the diamonds in the mist. I am from the road, sir. I've learned to call it home, for this will be the second winter I've been traveling it alone. I was christened Thomas Jameson, but it's Jamie I like fine, and I'm short on every talent, save the one that makes words rhyme. So I sing a song, I spin a yarn to earn my daily bread. I was hoping this night to trade a story for my bed. But for now I must rest, for I am a troubled guest, and the tale I would tell would surely keep you from your rest. Thanks for the chance.
What day are you going to do it?
Wednesday.
Are you inviting people to come in, or would you rather just be alone and?
No, I would not rather be alone, but I don't want to work with a microphone. I want to have condenser mics, and I want to sort of move more and do things.
Gotcha.
And so I'm not sure how the magic of Dr. Ted,
How
much he can do to make it well heard for people.
He's got overhead mics, I think, doesn't he?
You are welcome to come. And
he.
especially if you laugh at things that are supposed to be funny, and
That helps.
that helps.
Nice.
Thank you for the chance.
Thanks, Don. All right. There we go. Storytelling. You've got to do the doctor will be skimming down here in a minute. John, you'll be up. John Mowat, as soon as Ted cleanses your fire, changes your microphone. John is heading out on the road sometime, aren't you? This summer, John? Oh boy, I so admire that. I'd head out on the road if I wasn't worried about what I'd come back to. Armageddon with the cat, I think, Ted? The cat would leave the place in shreds.
I don't know, I'm not listening.
No, I know. He's working. There he is. I'm a poor. Well, you're not poor. Wayfaring stranger? What does wayfaring mean? Just traveling?
Yes, wayfarer.
Wayfarer, yeah.
Wayfaring, you're faring the way, faring along the way.
There is no darkness, something, or sorrow. What's the other thing? No darkness?
Oh, yeah, that's that. Do you thinking Doc Watson?
To that bright isle on which I go. You're gonna go to the Emerald Isle, are you, again?
Well, eventually, maybe 2023, I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, things are, the travel restrictions and all that kind of stuff are a bit heavy duty these days.
And they are indeed. Yeah. Well, welcome back, and we look forward to what you got to share.
Thank you all. Right. I've just got 3 short pieces here that I'd like to read. I've been busy moving house and everything that goes along with that the past while. And it just occurred to me earlier this evening that it's flow night. So I got on my PC and dug around in some files that I'd written a long time ago, and found a few things that okay, I think I'd like to read that. So, first one is called Farm Girls. This is more or less fiction, this first piece, I should say. My mom and Maggie's mom had been best friends since they were children, together, neighbors, since they were children together, neighbors, on their parents' farms. And they'd kept in touch over the years. They'd been through their lives together pretty much, and they understood each other and their kids and each other's kids very well. Our families visited together often in the summers when we were young, out in the country, usually camping or at a cottage by a lake in a forest somewhere. So the children in our two families, so we children and our two families played together a lot those summer times. Roaming around, finding adventures, doing whatever we thought of, and just showing up for meals, or if it rained, or after it got dark. Maggie and I liked each other, just kind of fit well together, exploring, discovering, and playing. A gentle, natural friendship, and we got puberty about the same time. Warm summer afternoons, sometimes we played in the woods, sometimes finding secret places where we could hide and be with each other in our curiosity and our pleasure. Trusting friends we were, exploring our innocence together. One summer, Maggie and I both got poison ivy at the same time. I heard her and my mom talking about it, and I heard them say, and they have it in the most curious places. Mothers, farm girls, looking after their kids. That's that one. Two old friends in a bar. It was about the time of the America's Cup yacht race in 21. So by and by, their talk turned to sailing. Mac, I heard about this boat that's up on Wings Lake. Yes, they call it the American Magic. Jeez, the Americans these days. Them people could use some friggin' magic. A miracle or something. Some of their Looney Tunes feck-ups is even showing up here, for Christ's sake. You know, that mess with all them truckers in Canada being hoodwinked by a bunch of right-wing American whack jobs, messing up things up along the border and all? Yeah, well... Hey, Davey, that big boat race that's going on, have you got that on that big TV somewhere? Yeah, he's got it there. Oh, that's some boat, all right. Man, look at that thing fly. Pretty friggin' amazing. Not much is going to keep up with that thing. Yeah, pretty damn fine, all right. But you know, pal, I'd like to know where those people got their money to put up a yacht like that. Oh, man, you are right there. That's a sport for people with gold up their arseholes. Yeah, I guess, eh? Another beer, please, Davy. How many poor folks got stepped on so some rich some bitch could get even feckin' richer and get to play with toys like that friggin' thing? Yeah, I don't know. I read something the other day. It went like this. Upon much suffering doth much wealth depend. Key your rice, Mac, you're a wet blanket sometimes. One for me too, Davy bye. Oh, that's that one. Persons of snow. A friend shared an image of a snowy, shawl-wrapped snow woman amid snowy ground, seated upon a chair, looking at a large flat-screen TV, which was set on a table in front of her, showing digital images of snowmen and snowwomen. Mystery sweetens the scene. I wonder whether they knew, those snow people, that they soon would be water. To us with flesh, 2 months alone seems short and sad, such brevity. But what is it to them, these snow people, those 2 months, but a lifetime? Then, dewdrops brilliant in morning sunlight. One morning walking the near field behind the barn, sun low through clear, clean skies, an exquisite sudden spectrum struck my eye, a burst of every color astonishing, brilliant light in light. Then, pausing, I retraced, looking, seeking source of such a thrilling tiny blaze. Finding again in my eye that spectrum beam of light, walking carefully up that beam so not to lose it, but then crouching to find its source in a brilliant drop of dew suspended from a single tall, bending green grass blade, celebration of morning light. Sparkling music of mountain streams, mist lying in hollows of the wood, rivers dancing down to oceans, tall clouds shining high in the sky, water all. To us with flesh, 2 months alone seems short and sad, such brevity. What is it to people of snow but a lifetime? And then water and freedom to play. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. My pleasure.
So you're going to be staying with friends in the meantime?
Yeah, I have a friend who's kindly offered me a place to stay until I get through the cataract surgery, and once that's done,
Right.
I'm on the road.
Nice. So you'll be like Eugene. He's like just a new, renewed license when you get the new eyes. It's really wonderful.
Good to get the blurry stuff out of the way.
Right. Thank you. Yes, Gene was in fine form today. Wasn't he, Tim? He's a champ. We've got Mahalia coming up, and she's going to share with us some readings she's been doing. A very interesting, what would you say? Is it a form of, it's kind of a combination of spirituality, physiology, and things.
It's like, I'll read the back here. Would you like a, oh wait. Okay. More individually specific than astrology, human design is a revolutionary system that is changing people's lives around the world. Using the date, time, and location of your birth, it reveals the person you were born to be and the life you were meant to lead.
Nice. I like the sound of that.
Super cool. I got into pretending I was a hippie and looking up all sorts of stuff about astrology. And then by doing that, you do that on Instagram, and then it starts giving you ads to related topics. And so I see this ad for human design, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And it's just, it's like this thing that I have used as a tool to sort of understand how I'm supposed to operate and to avoid feeling those feelings of like, oh, I need to look for love and I need to look for direction and I should be out there doing this and that and trying to make a big life for myself. But I'm actually not really designed to be that way. In a way I am, but I'm going to just read. I was going to read a bit of, I know Bill's time of birth and place of birth, so I looked up his chart, and I was going to read from this book that I bought what channels he has, but I was thinking I might want to read something else. So, here we go. Okay. So in human design, there's something called strategy and authority, and those are main sort of focal points in the teaching and how you would apply that to your life so that you can sort of feel as though you're really operating as your truest and highest self, and so that you can really feel connected to your path. And so strategy has to do with the type that you are in your design. And Bill and I were both called generators. I'm not going to talk about the type right now. I'm just going to talk about authority, which I find has really, really helped me recently, like so much. We have the same authority. And so here we go. I'm going to give you a little lowdown on our authority, which is emotions authority. Okay, so whether you are man or woman, feelings rule your life and you're here to surf them. Regardless of any other centers that are defined, The emotions rule. Earlier, I used the analogy of a storm-tossed ship in tumultuous seas to describe what it can feel like to be you. Your correct decision-making process, therefore, is to find lasting emotional clarity in spite of the storm. Such clarity isn't easy if your emotions are particularly intense or confusing. When something is sending you into a tailspin, the easiest option is to make a decision, any decision, just to bring matters to a head or to end the pain. Conversely, if you're experiencing huge pleasure, you might want to hang on to that feeling and let yourself get carried away. That would be equally rash. Few decisions will work out if you are emotionally spontaneous or reckless. Your natural authority demands that you seek emotional clarity before you make decisions. True and reliable decisions will form in the clarity that arrives when that storm-tossed ship suddenly finds itself at rest in the middle of a still lake. Still lake. So like, this is just two people I'm talking about, and it's very, very personal, right? But to make a decision, like, when you have the emotional authority, if you believe in this, I mean, it's not a dogma or a religion or anything, but it has helped me a lot. You just wait for that still lake. You wait, and sometimes you don't really get clarity right in the present moment. You sometimes have to sleep on decisions. I find that really find that hard, like extremely hard. But anyway, keep practicing, right? At that moment, everything becomes clear. Admittedly, it takes time and practice to recognize this. But the more you allow yourself to witness your emotions, the more quickly you'll begin to find an emotional balance, which in turn will foster clarity. Have you ever agreed to do something one day only to wake up the next morning groaning with regret because you're absolutely not in the mood anymore? Yeah. I do that a lot. Okay, where am I? Or how about making a fundamental switch in direction, only to rue your haste some days, weeks, or months down the line? Rash decisions tend to be attached to some emotional expectation of hope or fear about how things will turn out. Heightened emotions, therefore, paint a misleading outcome and cannot be reliably followed. Okay. In real life, I'm pleased to say... Wait, I don't want to read this one section. In some cases, it can take days before such clarity dawns. Sorry, guys. Emotional clarity. Okay. Your decision-making process hinges on finding that still point that Buddha calls the middle way, neither this nor that. Picture a frequency sine wave where the signal, like your emotions, makes swooping peaks and dips on either side of a central line. It appears dramatic, but essentially nothing is happening except the rising and falling of waves. The frequency is only captured at the constant still point in the middle. Likewise, your emotional clarity exists at that still point. Emotional clarity is when something feels right, the most peaceful, natural thing in the world. It is a clarity that resounds in your very being. Feel it, don't think it. What time am I at? Okay. Bye.
Where did Mr. Primer go? He's out baking buns somewhere. Oh, he's back there, cuddled on the couch with Johnny. Isn't that sweet? Marcus. A man who makes bread and poetry. And you ran the market stall your own self 1 week. And it was torture, wasn't it? Without the girls. I think you said torture. It was more work. Well, that's simple. All right, how have you been?
I was in Edmonton
Oh, yes.
last week,
Right.
and the roads were icy. My dad lives across the street from the care center where my mother, who has dementia, lives. And so at about 10 in the morning, Dad was with me, getting ready to cross the road, looking right, looking left, checking the traffic, right, And then he's crossing the road. Again, it's very small steps, but I noticed that when we're on the asphalt, Dad starts to speed up, probably just to get across the road. And I kept thinking, it's like a raccoon crossing the highway.
Yeah. Danger.
I was thinking, it doesn't often end well. And then on the way back, the sun had come out, and we're heading towards the sidewalk. I would have chosen the banks because the banks had a lot of gravel.
Traction.
Traction. But no, Dad was going for the ice with that little skiff of water on top. So we're just taking small steps, and I grab hold of him, and he's like, "Don't hold me." My dad's 88. He says, "Don't hold me. If you fall, you'll take me down."
That's a classic line.
And I just thought I was in a belly roll at that point. And then we got more again on the sidewalks. This is small steps.
Yeah.
And he says something about being okay. And I said, "We'll be sure to put that on your tombstone." And in his comeback, I felt like applauding him right then and there. He says, "I think you're being a little premature."
Oh, so you were.
All right? Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. My brother actually bought him a pair of, steel-toed booties to put on his feet, and he was like,
Those work?
"Well, yeah, they work." I talked to somebody else who says they work just great. But my dad was like, "I'm not wearing those." Yeah. So on my as I was sitting at home, this evening, I decided to find out what was new in Canadian poetry, and I don't even know how to pronounce this gal's last name, but she is from Vancouver, and she's a terrific writer. Not as good as Tony Hoagland, but she's pretty damn good. So here is I got a few poems by her. Finish schooling. I texted you, "Finish schooling," and I'm sorry if you took it as a command. You've been out of school for years and are quite finished. I meant the educational system in Finland. I saw a thing on it once. No, not a documentary, just one of those things that pop up when you're passing statuses and photos and all the other cut-up bits of their lives people put on the internet. In Finland, kids are so happy. They don't have homework. They read Ishiguro novels while whittling Cedar computers, oblivious to the gold medals they're getting in every international category. Today, I thought of them again while having a fast food taco in my girlfriend's Hyundai. We were driving back to Canada from Portland and didn't want to stop for lunch. I bet Finnish children stop for lunch even if it means longer wait times at the border. You had an idea that we could get tech bros to pay us to give motivational talks about poetry and creativity. Then they would feel creative and poetic, like they just bought a sexy coffee table book, a big one with glacier photos. And we would have money, which is just what we need. I used to hate money, but have come to terms with needing it. You see, I need to insert it into my life in order for the poems to come out. If I don't, only death dispenses. You were so excited drinking red wine on the patio, vibrating with all the ways we might not die like a brilliant, giant Finnish child. I was thinking we could tell the tech bros about the Finnish system. That's what I meant to text you. We could tell them there is a place where kids don't choose between poets and being tech bros. We could ask them to design a system that lets us feel like that, free and lathered in many green breezes from the north. Girl-like. A girl like you once sold her period panties on the internet for $80 plus shipping. She quit the swim team to sleep more. She thought she was the only girl to be softly devastated on the back of a motorcycle, breathing his hair in, getting highway high in the hours between curfew and the missing persons report. A girl like you once knew how to solve for X with calculator accuracy. A girl like you once liked girls. She sat on her bed lacing girl fingers together. In the rose light from the glitter lamp, her body looked factory perfect. She was like a Ouija board, hands ghosted over, spelling out balsam, soak, ambiguous. A girl like you once haunted that girl's skin for years. The night settled its thick sediment inside of a girl like you, and no one whispered to her, "Darling, that feeling is just the gin you had for dinner. You will live through this night and many others." If I had a nickel for every time a girl like you couldn't buy a belt to hold up her end of the story, I could buy a belt. A girl like you once phoned Teen Helpline every afternoon for 3 months, but never felt any better. She couldn't say algebra without giggling. Once she got an anonymous email calling her an arrogant cunt and got "arrogant cunt" silkscreened onto a t-shirt. Like so many girls, she watched her car getting acne in the hailstorm of high-pressure feelings. Quiet your heart, darling. It's only a car alarm. A girl like you once took her rose quartz to the river and threw it so hard into spring runoff she bruised a salmon. Snails made the rocks wet with their bodies, but when she returned home, her rose quartz was still glowing on her windowsill and love still pooled like pantyhose in her shoes. It doesn't make any sense, this girling, lining your eyes so deliberately before making strangers wet with your body. She stopped eating until she saw God in the cliff face of Elizabeth Mountain. She had her tit pics circulated by the hockey team's boy god and tried to off herself. I'm sorry I held your heart down with the sole of my sneaker. Once a girl like you did that to me when I thought she was just trying to teach me how to hotwire a car. She waited until university to Google how to masturbate because a body like hers comes sans instruction manual. A girl like you once loved a boy, but love held her words hostage like a dog in a hot car, and no good Samaritan came along to crowbar her windshield. Darling, did your feelings suffocate? A girl like you blew all her money on a one-way ticket to Ann Arbor to meet a Twitter stranger, but couldn't step onto the train. Girls like you go around breaking in, stealing strangers' jackets and wearing them to bonfires. Darling, when a girl like you busts you open, she will take $6.23 and that mixtape you love more than anything, but you will get over it. A girl like you once got over it. She does provide a note, the author. She says at the very end here, I grew up in a fairly isolated town in northern British Columbia where I was often bored and lonely and sad. Reading books and writing things down often made me feel better. This August, I celebrated my 10-year anniversary of fleeing my hometown. While my feelings these days are less angsty and acute, books still keep me company and help me live my life. Girl-like is a collection of things that happened to me and other sad northern girls I know. So, do you want one more or not? It's up to you. Her name, and here I apologize if she's listening. If she's listening, her name is, Kayla, and her last name is spelled C-Z-A-G-A. And yeah, when I was at home and I was like, new Canadian poets, and she was in the list. This is called The Future. Did you know the Queen has 2 birthdays? I read that in a book of facts I picked up the other day in a bookstore. The book was helpfully titled 1001 Facts. Just knowing about the Queen's birthdays made me feel as if a thin membrane had been peeled off my unknowing and it. My unknowing throbs pink and raw and possible. Fact. A group of salamanders is not a slither, but it's a rumba of rattlesnakes, a currency of queens. Factually, I pushed the book back into its wedge of shelf. It resisted. Other books had expanded to fill the space, as if 1001 facts had already been forgotten. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in this long, vague afternoon that is adulthood with no real occupation, much money, or children, but at the bookstore my purpose felt tangible. I would read 1001 facts. I would learn 1001 facts. I would learn Tolkien, use Finnish as a base for Elvish grammar. I would learn everything human beings know about the mangrove, killifish, which spends its non-violent hermaphroditic existence mostly off the coast of Mexico, but can live for 66 days on land, breathing through its skin. Then my purpose evaporated like peach juice. I left the bookstore and entered a street so infected with tourists, I forgot everything. In learning facts from glossy books, a sort of knowledge tourism, I wondered fleetingly while I watched a woman wipe mustard from the blooming face of her progeny and say something that sounded scolding yet sweet in a language I didn't recognize. The official birthday of the Queen is celebrated by the state. Her second birthday is the private day she slid into the world, sticky and naked as anybody. I wonder if the Queen, when she's alone, knows what she should be doing, as if she stands in her birthday suit in front of the mirror and says, "Huh, how I do. Huh, how I do." Except the Queen doesn't have so much crap tattooed all over her body. Could knowing about the Nazi weather station in Newfoundland actually improve anyone's inner life? Could knowing anything do anything more than aggregate more collective anxiety? I want to say yes. Yes, knowledge is precious. Yes, the future exists. And yes, we will live there together, breathing poems through our skin. But I am uncertain. I, with my second hidden name used only for tests and traveling, which is the same as the Queen's, am royally uncertain. In the time it took me to flip through 1001 facts and write this all down, the only thing I know for certain is somewhere a fact has been born. One day it may be printed in a book. Someone has traveled historically fast. A monument has collapsed. In Namibia? Thank you. Several impala have nibbled a radioactive plant that will cause their offspring's offspring to glow. There.
You're a good man, said your father. Don't hold on to me. You'll pull me down when you fall. Yeah, I mean, I fell twice, and then I thought about those boots. I wouldn't be too proud to wear those boots next winter. No siree. Better than cracking your butt on the ice. Gord, did you bring something today? Gord just came in, and we haven't seen him for a while. And have you been going out to the dress rehearsals too and playing? A little? Not for a while, yeah. Yes, well, I've just come on up. No, you're getting a new mic. This is your mic. Yeah, fresh, always fresh. Yeah, sterilized. Yeah. You are fresh and clean, sir. Ta-da! And how have you been?
I've been fine.
You good? Good? Life's treating you
Good to
well?
hear. Yes.
Nice.
When I treat it well, it treats me well.
That's a good axiom for life, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, I just thought of that.
You did good. Put that on a cup. Well, welcome, sir.
Okay. Good evening. I might have read some of this before. The Citizens Parking Patrol. You've seen them. Pickup trucks. Humongous SUVs and so on that park straddling two parking spaces or park on the line separating parking spaces so no one can park next to them. And they annoy you, right? Sometimes really badly because so brazenly do they exhibit their disdain for you. They don't park over the line in privately owned lots because they'd have to pay for two spaces. Well, you're not alone in your rancor and your frustration. There are many of us who feel our rights are being trampled, our space is being invaded, our grace intruded upon. And some of us feel it is necessary to bring these people to task for their disrespect of law, order, and good parking. Today they'll park over the line, tomorrow they'll drive over the lines into your lane. Then who knows? Want to do something about it? Want to help? Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm a member of your Citizens Parking Patrol, known as the CPP. You've probably heard of the CPP. Who hasn't? We were organized to deal with those people who feel that because they drive a particular type of vehicle, they think it is their given right to flaunt the law, flaunt the justice of the land, and they couldn't care less about your right to park. Remember, you too have a right to park at the hockey game, at the supermarket, and at the pot store. How many times have you driven around a parking lot fuming because some ignoramus in a one-ton pickup can't coordinate his eye-hand movements well enough to park between the painted lines and instead parks his vehicle across two spaces? Or how many BMWs have you seen who think the whole world is out to dent their doors? Or how about the Honda Hodad flying wing with bird's butt tailpipe that parks diagonally, to prohibit parking in the adjacent stalls and say, in case someone opens the door and touches the little Honda's curb feelers. Driving while fuming is dangerous. And it is our aim to put a stop to it. We don't plan on calling for an outright ban on all cars. Only the mayor of Toronto and the Liberal Party have that concept tied up and patented. We carry a set of 4 different cards at all times to place under windshield wipers or tuck into drivers' windows moldings. We have 3 guidelines in our motto. Don't get upset. Don't be upset. Card 1 reads, thanks for reading this card. You may not be aware that your car is parked on or over the parking stall lines. It is possible that another parker attempted to squeeze in and could scratch your vehicle's paint or dent your vehicle's body. Have a nice day. Card 2 reads, thanks for reading this card. You may not have noticed when you parked that there are lines delineating the parking spaces. These are to ensure that vehicles can park without damaging one another. Have a nice day. Your Citizen Parking Patrol. Card 3. Thanks for reading this card. It is with pleasure that we inform you that you qualify for special rates in one of our Learn to Park courses featuring parking small cars, parking full-size cars, parking vans, parking standard and dual-wheeled pickup trucks, parking excessively sized SUVs. Call 1-800-2-PARK. You too can become one of millions. Your Citizens Parking Patrol. Card 4 reads, hey, doughhead, learn to park. I like card 4. Now, have you noticed all the noise around you? Why is it that environmentalists never protest against noise? They protest against seal hunting, car fumes, SUVs, tree cutting, tree hugging, leather clothing, whaling, hunting, politicians, governments, foreign governments, abortions, men, religious groups, anti-religious groups, non-religious groups, gays, straights, sewage, fishing, draining lakes, diverting rivers, bullfighting, and landmines, and just about every other thing you can think of. How about the boombox cars, diesel pickup trucks, diesel buses, Hell's Bells, and other assorted motorcycles and neighborhood dogs whose main function is barking after they've finished licking their privates? Environmentalists never protest against the excessive noise we live with day in and day out. You know why? Because environmentalists love to make noise. Ever call up a business and get that disgusting music while you're waiting for a real person to answer? Well, I have. I think someone should invent a signal that totally messes up those things. How about a secret handheld laser zapper to aim at the CD players on the cars of airheads who drive around with big thumping bass sounds coming from their cars, distorting the atmosphere and everyone's ears? I'm probably offending somebody already. It's as though no one else in the world matters but them, and they think it proves something to someone if they drive around booming the street. It's the young human male's equivalent of barking. I hope you boom your brains out, you cretins. Yeah, a silent secret zapper. Some guy is driving along, booming out a bunch of some Bimbato's funky bass crud, and all of a sudden there's nothing coming out of the car stereo except a thin plume of smoke. Yeah, I'd love one of those zappers. Zap the rap. And while we're at it, while we're at it, you know all those motorcycle riders who think loud pipes are a sign of intelligence? I take that back. For them, it's not a sign, but the real thing. Their IQ matches the diameter of the exhaust pipe measured in feet. Just kidding, big guys. Just kidding. How about a big Yukon Gold up the tailpipe? Environmentalists, why are you so quiet about noise? And how much time do I have? Oh, well, have I told you about the incident in a drugstore? This is from the Brixton Times Conservative newspaper. Bleeding man rushed to hospital. Brixton, Canadian Press. Roberto Ribato was rushed to Brixton City Hospital yesterday morning after a blood pressure testing machine at Pharmacity misfunctioned, resulting in an unexpected drop in blood pressure for Mr. Ribato, owner of Bobby's Big Rib Palace. Mr. Ribato had just sat down to a nice blood pressure test, as he put it, placed his left arm in the cuff, settled himself down, and pushed the start button to activate the tester. The air bladder in the cuff inflated normally and tightened on his upper arm. Mr. Ribato didn't think anything was abnormal until the airbag continued tightening its grip and the air pump failed to stop. I'm sure we've all thought about that when we're sitting at a blood, well, maybe if you don't take blood pressure tests, but the cuff bag squeezed Mr. Ribato's upper arm so tightly that his left shoulder and neck bulged out and his lower arm expanded in the manner of a long novelty balloon being inflated. The fingers of his left hand swelled to more than 3 times their normal size and became engorged with blood. At that point, the ends of his thumb and 3 of his fingers exploded, shooting streams of blood onto nearby customers and spraying the entire shampoo and hair restore section with it, with Mr. Ribato's blood, which it turns out is type A. Bystander, Claude McFatter, reported that a quick hiss along with the sharp ripping and bursting sounds were heard just prior to the gushing spray of blood, which seemed to indicate to Mr. McFatter that the thumb burst just before the fingers went off. Mr. McFatter was not sure if the fingers went off all at once or in rapid succession. There was much confusion in the pharmacy as ladies screamed and girls yelled, "Duh!" Children dropped their jaws and snapped their eyes wide open at the sight of Mr. Ribato's fingers in tatters with the ends ripped wide open. When an ashen-faced Mr. Ribato tried to stand, he was held fast by the still inflated cuff. He then collapsed, pulling the blood pressure tester over onto its side and knocking over a display of family planning products, sending them into the vitamin and headache remedies section. Mr. H. Bayer, the pharmacist, came to Mr. Ribato's aid and, when interviewed, said, I knew this was going to happen. That machine nearly ripped off old Mrs. Kelsey's arm the other day. Mr. Bayer had reported the earlier misfunction to the manufacturer, but couldn't say if the company had come to fix it. The last report from Mr. Ribato's doctor at Brixton Hospital Emergency indicates Mr. Ribato is recovering well, but it may be a while before he returns to playing lead guitar with the Ribeyes, his local AC/DC tribute band. When this reporter contacted Mr. Ribato, he stated simply, "Man, that was the weirdest feeling. It was like doing a straight hour of ACD riffs in about 3 seconds. There will be blisters on Mr. Ribato's fingers." Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the time.
That was a macabre picture. I hope I can get that out of my head before I go to sleep tonight. Other Dawn, how rude that we didn't ask you if you wanted to read something. No, okay. And now, last but not least, Johnny. Are you sleeping, John, too? Having a nap? I wasn't sleeping. Sharp as a tack. I just had my eyes closed. Now, John spends a lot of time coming to dress rehearsal other Tuesdays and playing his songs, traveling all the way from Victoria and whooping up old songs, throwing together new songs. We did miss you last Tuesday, though, didn't we? It's a story. He's not going to play it. We don't let him play it, no.
No, not really. It's a prop.
It's a prop. You did miss last Tuesday, and the rumor went out that you were coming because you had 2 new songs, but
I did.
you were waylaid. And there's kitchen guy.
Yeah. Okay.
John's gonna pre-grub you.
I'll have. What's my favorite? Oh, I can't have that anymore.
Oh,
Never
no.
mind.
Oh no, because of the gout.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
It's terrible.
Anybody else got an order for John before he goes? It's the post-flow ritual at the
yes.
brew pub.
To have a
pint
snack
and a snack.
and talk about what we didn't talk about.
Right, what you missed.
What I missed.
Well, I am excited to hear your story
Well,
of the guitar.
it's an experiment in
Is it
storytelling. Yeah, because
Okay.
I don't have any. I actually did type it out.
Did you?
And then of course my computer doesn't work on the battery, so I would have to plug that in.
Right.
So
So you're gonna wing it a bit.
well,
Inspired.
Well, it was very inspiring to hear her, just keep talking, and
Yeah.
it's all memorized
Yes.
as opposed to, just making it up as you go.
Who does that? Mark.
Well, we're always arguing about what free improv is, because, he always says no, and I say you're not allowed to say that.
You're not allowed to say no.
No,
You must
but he
agree.
says, but that's his free improv.
That's a bit backwards, isn't
It is.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
Well, welcome,
Okay.
John.
Thank you, Bill. On my 70th birthday, this friend of mine gave me a guitar, and I know where he got it. And it was out of a dumpster. I like these kinds of, just slowly, so you start a little bit. I can, I'm afraid to, I'll crank it. Yeah, no worries. I think I got it. So anyway, there was a story to the guitar, and I didn't expect it at all. And I realized I was up to 12 or 13 guitars. Yeah. And thank you, Tim. They always say, all you need for guitars is one more. So I got one more. So I said, I tell people the story of that guitar. So then I was thinking, well, every one of these guitars has a story. And then I thought, 12 guitars, 12 months, I'm good for a year here, But this one's going to be a bit rough because I'm just going to wing it to find the form or, whatever it is. So technically, because, you need to know these things, it is coincidentally, this guitar is 1 year older than our friend Mark over there. It's 56 years old. And it has a story. And it has a picture of Pan, it's a pan. And not many, and I found out later that there was a company in the United States that started making guitars that were basically Gibson ripoffs, and Gibson sued them, and they called them lawsuit guitars. So what the company did was they went to Japan to produce them, and then they called them Pan for Japan, you know. And out of that group came these other, I think you may have heard of Kent and Aria and a number of different brands that all came from Japan. This would be, there's a series, I don't know if it's there's a number that's stamped inside. It says 668. So that could either be August of 1966 or it could be June of 68. And I'm thinking, because when I bought it, I was 17 years old, and it was used because, you know, and Japanese guitars were incredibly inexpensive compared to, and if you wanted to play. And I was thinking, so this guitar is the second guitar that I ever owned, and it was it was the third guitar I had ever touched. The first guitar, I was 4 years old, and the neighbor had a delinquent son that wore black leather jackets and white T-shirts, and his hair is like combed back, and he had a guitar laying on his bed, and I used to go in and just, you know, strum it. So at the age of 14, I bought an electric guitar to join a band, and all the other guys in the band, their parents bought them their instruments, and I've told stories of my father, and he would have nothing to do with that. In fact, he did buy a guitar, which was the second one I touched, in 1963 or 4 when the Beatles came out, and he was like got carried away in the whole thing, and he's a spastic. He couldn't play, and he had no rhythm, and so long story short, the guitar got hung up by his silk dressing gown belt as a strap on the wall in the living room, and I was instructed never to touch it. So, of course, when he went to work, I would take it off the wall and start to strum it and try to play it. And long story short, I took some lessons on it. The guitar teacher said, "This guitar is a piece of shit," and my fingers literally were bleeding. And so he took the bridge, what do you call it, Ted? The saddle, and he just took it out because the strings were so far off. So, you know, I do my lesson. I get home. I just hang the guitar back on the wall. The old man comes home from work. First thing he sees is that the saddle's missing from the guitar because he's that kind of guy. And he's like, starts railing, like, you know, and I think, oh, I'm fucked now. What's going on here? Who did this? I said, well, I didn't do it. The guitar, I had to tell, you know, I'm taking guitar lessons. I'm using your guitar, you know. And he just exploded at me and said, you tell him, put it back and don't you ever touch it again. So I took that under advisement as I was in his house. And I saved up my paper route money and I bought an electric guitar that was called a Xenon, also from Japan. And they were Strat knockoffs, and they were, you know, I remember paying $25 for it, which was a lot of money back then. But the sad thing was I didn't have enough money for an amp, so I was pleading with my father to please lend me the money to buy an amp. He wouldn't do it. And as I said, all the other boys in the band, their parents, one guy had a Gibson SG with a Vox 330 with 30 amp, you know, because his folks are rich. Yeah, spoiled as shit. And my friend, his parents got him a couple of knockoff amp and guitar shit that, you know, worked. And the drummer had a Pixie set. They were called Pixies because he was 5 foot himself, you know, and the bass drum was maybe this big around, you know. And his name was Brent Cuppage, so we called ourselves BC and the Cavemen. And so long story short on that one, I got kicked out of the band because I didn't have an amp. Butch Briner lent me a 5-watt amp, and I was playing that for a while, and then he told me I had to give it back to him, so I was fucked. So they kicked me out of the band for not having an amp. My friend Barry came with me because he's my friend. And so we traded in our electrics, and we both bought Pan 12 strings. So one of the features of this particular guitar is what they call a 0 fret, which right below the nut, there's a fret. And it's meant to level out the strings. You won't see it, on many guitars at all. Well, I'll tell you how it doesn't work. 17, I'm fairly strong, but, to push the chords down in the open position when there's a fret, it's not like playing, with a capo and, it pushed it down all closer. It makes it harder to push down. So I think after, I can't remember, I was 17, I wanted to play, and having a 12-string was a real folky thing to have, and but it just, I couldn't get. And the other thing, the neck is really big around; it's not thin at all. So my hands are probably bigger now, but it was difficult to play, really difficult. So at one point, I removed 6 of the strings, thinking, well, I'll turn it into a 6-string, and then my friend Howard said that having a 12-string was like having a guitar with an effect you couldn't turn off, So anyway, it didn't really work as a 6-string because it's not built that way. So I stuck it in a closet in a bedroom, and then, when I was 19 years old, I left home. And I left the guitar in the closet, and I didn't much think about it, and I didn't think guitar really played any sort of role in my life, and didn't really think about it. And I came out to British Columbia in 1974. I was 22, and now we fast forward 20 years to the mid-90s. And I'm talking to my brother who lives in Edmonton, where Mark was, so I could really picture his story of crossing the street. And I thought, and this guitar is around the same age as Mark. I go, this is one of those coincidental nights, So anyway, I'm talking to my brother, who at the time was doing sound for K.D. Lang. And we're just shooting the shit and on the phone. He in Edmonton, and I just think, I go, hey, do you remember that Pan 12-string I used to have? I said, it just disappeared. I go, I don't know what happened to it. And he goes, I got it. And I go, what? And he goes, yeah, I went home one Christmas and it was sitting there in the closet, and I thought, well, nobody's using it, so I just took it. And I go, fuck you, That's my guitar. I says, what are you doing with it? And he says, well, the boys are using it for a goalie stick downstairs. I says, are you fucking kidding me? So I said, does it work as a guitar? And he goes, well, I don't know. He says, I've been using pliers to tune it, I said, well, that doesn't sound good. And I said, well, that's my guitar. And he says, well, if you want it, come and get it. So I says, you fucker, So he's a prick, but he's dead now, so it doesn't really matter. So anyway, I made the trip to Edmonton with my son, actually. And first thing I did was I looked at the guitar, and across the back of it is all these ball marks where, they've been, and across the bottom here, it was all chewed up where it was hitting the floor, And I thought, you motherfucker, what do you, that's just not right, So then I went to a music store in Edmonton, and the thing with a 12-string is if it doesn't stay in tune, it doesn't matter how much money you spend on it, it's a piece of shit. And I just had to know, will it stay in tune if I'm going to keep it? The bridge had started to lift up. You know, the back's damaged. The tuners were metal and had fused, and that's why he was using the pliers to bend them, you know. And I swear to God, the same strings were on it from when I was 17 years old, because they were black, you know. So I'm thinking, you know, I have a certain amount of respect for instruments, you know. And my brother, he's working in the business. And I go, what is the matter with you, you know? And so anyway, the music store, I got one of those cardboard boxes that guitars come in, and I packed it in there, put wood around it, and took it home on the plane, because I have another guitar that has a story about what happened to it on a plane. And I found a luthier in New West, and I took it to him, and I said, look, all I need to know is this guitar worth any money being spent on it? And the first thing I got to do is restring it with the existing busted up, they're called strips, and you know, just to see if it'll hold tune, if it'll work. And he goes, oh, you know, okay, I can. He said the thing of it is those strips are so old that you won't find them, and I will have to re-drill the neck and put in, you know. I'm thinking, oh, this is getting really complicated. And so I said, no, forget that. Just like restring it, fix the bridge, let's see if it works, and then we'll go from there. So about a week later, he phones me. He says, so did you want those new strips? And I says, I thought we agreed that I'm going to, you know, just check it out. And he says, well, funny thing, you know, this guy came in my shop about a month ago, and he was just selling little bits and pieces of guitar parts, and just to be polite, I bought some off him. And he says, as it turns out, I bought 2 12-string strips, and as a matter of fact, they exactly fit your guitar. I said, well, that's great, you know, and my mind's going, how much? And so I asked, I said, well, how much will that be? He goes, $26, and I go, sold. So I come to the shop, and, you know, you see, these are the original little white pluggy things. I don't know what they call them, but pins, thank you, Ted. And the strips, as you can see, like they match it, you know. So it was sitting on a stand in his shop, and I'm just thinking, pardon? You've got a guitar there. I have a guitar. And so I said, does it work? And he goes, well, go ahead, try it. So, you know, I tuned it at home. We'll see. And the other thing that I failed to mention was that the bridge, the saddle, thank you, Ted, is actually made of metal. So it has a kind of metallic-y, I don't know if you can hear but as you can see, I mean, I've been playing guitar. That is a hard thing to do. So as it stands, I don't play it much. Is that the end of the story? Well, it's funny because my friend that bought a pan at exactly the same moment, his doesn't have that. And it had, Ted, what's it called with, a tailpiece, is it? You know? So there's a tailpiece that comes up, and the strings are all attached. So all the strain is taken up, you know, and because that's a big thing. That's why the bridge started lifting up. I mean, 56 years old, and you could pick it up. And the other thing, which would be, you know, Japanese, is that it would be a 3-ply piece of plywood on the top with a piece of veneer to make it look like it's a solid top. But I was reading on the internet, and they said just rub a bit on the edge, and if you see grain, you got a solid top, so it's a solid top. The best guitars came out of Japan, didn't they? And that also true. Yeah, they were. That was one of the stories where they were saying the Gibsons and the rest of them. It was actually dying off, if you can believe it, in the '60s. That the production of guitars in the United States was dying down because there wasn't a huge demand, in the early '60s, and then it just goes boom like this, and everybody wants one. And the Japanese. Because I don't know when I was a kid, anything made in Japan was just a joke, it would break, in 2 seconds. Sort of like when China took their place and it said made in China and you knew it was going to die. But, so anyway, that's the story of the Pan Guitar 12. No, the Dumpster's a different one, but this is the goalie stick guitar. The end. Thank you. Oh, hold the applause till I'm finished.
So your office, do you like them to applaud you off? I see.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Wow. I had my first guitar was a Pan as well, but I think it was it was a cruel joke by my brother. It's those older brothers, brother.
No, he was younger.
Oh, but he was an asshole.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
who takes your guitar and then doesn't tell you for 30 years he didn't tell me.
That's ridiculous. The 0 fret. Mine was unplayable, I think, and just ended up in the.
Well, yeah, and this one, it's
Good now.
It's working.
Even with the 0 fret. Thank you, my friend. And thank all of you for coming out and, contributing. Appreciate it very much. We will see you next in March. No. Is that right? March. March. Last Tuesday of March. And come on out and support the showroom. The Rain Fest is still going on. And as Don and Don know, the other Tuesdays are a lot of fun too, when you can play your music and your guitars. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Doctor. See you soon. Anytime.
I try to fight my nature. I try to hide what's true. The world keeps telling me how I should be, but nature always slips through. Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard. Old habits die hard. I've been feeling so lost. So many voices in my head. The world keeps telling me how I should be, but I keep being me instead. Habits die hard, yeah. Hey, old habits die hard. Old habits die hard, yeah. Old habits die hard. Let's jam a bit.